I'm going to go with Carlos from Oklahoma. I got a feeling about Carlos. Carlos,
Hi, Carlos.
how are you doing? It
Hi.
says here, Carlos, we as atheists
Can you guys hear
don't.
me?
I think the call screener said don't ask that question. The answer is yes. I'm a call screener, or at least I am at heart. Folks out in the audience, don't ask that question. We can hear you. We'll tell you if we can't. We as atheists don't force our views on people, but when it comes to homosexuality, transgender, and pronouns, which I'm fine with, we are forcing. This is what it says. This is what it says. This is not me. We are, and good for you, Carlos. We are forcing those views on others. Okay. Tell us what you mean by that.
What's the justification for that?
How are we forcing anybody to do anything? With a gun? Because I don't have a gun. Carlos?
I'm sorry. There's a delay.
Yes, there is.
Okay.
Carlos, what do you mean by this?
Okay.
Okay.
Actually, guys, what what I was saying was this. Okay. When we talk about like people being hypocrites, right? Like, as an atheist, I don't want your Christian views or your Christian politics forced on me. You know, I didn't ask for it, so leave me alone. But when we talk about, and I do not, my main call was because I do not understand what pronouns like mean and why they matter. And I know that's ignorant, but that's why I'm calling to get educated on that. But another sense about hypocrisy.
Hang on, Carlos. Hang on. Sorry to interrupt. Hang on a sec.
Ma'am.
We can go into it's fine to go into your second thing in a sec. I just think the pronouns thing is quite easy.
Yeah.
I think if I if I was at a party and you were there and Johnny was there, and
we'd be having a good time,
for a
first
drink,
of all.
and I was just like,
yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and you were like, oh, I need another drink. And I said to Johnny, oh, like, Johnny, can you get another drink out of the fridge for her?
I'm gonna go get Carla another drink from the fridge. Yes.
Would you be like, oh, that's a bit weird? And maybe even, do you think maybe you correct me, or would you just be like, yeah, cool, everyone calls me her all the time, that's fine? I mean, that's what we mean by pronouns.
Okay.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, and what a caller Bree that I talked to in a different show, what she explained to me about pronouns, which is what I'm asking you guys about, is like the hypocrisy is this. We're not about forcing pronouns on other people. Well, when I watch the shows and I hear you guys talk about he, she, they, them, and when somebody misidentifies somebody as what they see, are we not holding them accountable for their perspective? Like, is that not
I hear you. I hear you on that, but there's two small points here. One I have is, I think that with pronouns, it's just the same as a name, really. I mean, these are just like language things we've made up in order to talk to each other. So when I'm talking to you, I don't really need to use your name. But if I'm talking to Johnny about you, maybe after the show, I can be like, oh, do you remember the best caller of the whole show, that guy, Carlos? And he'll be like, yeah. And if I just decided to call you a different name, then, I mean, firstly, it'd be harder to know what was going on. But also, it's a bit disrespectful. You know, you might be like, my name is Carlos. It's the name I've had my whole life. Or maybe it's the name you chose for yourself or whatever. And I just like, I'm going to call you Sam instead because I don't like the name Carlos. Or you look like a Sam to me. I feel like I could do that. Like, no one is going to arrest me. Hopefully you wouldn't kill me. You know, there's not any major, serious, life-changing impact for me. But if I did that, you would be like, Katie's quite rude and like pointlessly confrontational over something that doesn't really matter to her. So I think that's like the first thing. So like, do you see like the comparison there? Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that concept, but that's not the point that I was trying to make. What I was trying to say was if I may, what I was trying to say was that like, I am 48 years old. And I don't remember a lot because I don't know if I can say this on the show, but I smoked that other shit. Oh crap! I already said it. But
all right,
I don't remember a lot. But the main things that I do remember is my embarrassment when I was on a call with somebody from a call center, and the lady, she had a very deep voice, and I said, "Sir."
Yeah.
I understand your problem, and I'm there to help you. And she was like, I am a ma'am. And I was so apologetic. And I felt so hurt that I misread that. And there are people out here that don't understand that, like, if I see you in public and you look like a man, I may call you sir. And if you say I am not a sir, then I will correct that. We are the people that will correct that. But
that's cool though, Carlos. Like, I think that, you know, people like you in that sense are great, because no one can be right all the time, and sometimes you're trying your best and you get it wrong. And then, you know, if we were in a situation and you called me he and I said, hey Carlos, just so you know, I'm actually she, you know, I'm a woman, can you not call me the wrong thing? And you were like, oh, of course, sorry. And then that, for me, that would be like the minimum amount of embarrassment, and for you it would be. And I think that, you know, we'd just move on and then we could be friends. And I understand that some people might give you a bad reaction. Like you say, you were talking to this one lady on a call thing and she got really upset at you, and it's upset you. But I think that, you know, it's like, in my experience, that is a rarer situation. Most of the trans people I know, and not just trans people as well, but like cis people. So cis is someone who isn't a trans person. You don't need to necessarily know these words, but basically people who sometimes get misgendered and called the wrong thing, in general, in my experience, they don't want to cause a scene. They just want to just make sure the person knows and then just move on. And like, that's the majority of reactions. But of course you meet some people who are just bad people, or you meet nice people on a bad day who she might have had the worst day of her life, and like, you know, someone might have been insulting her appearance all day, and then it's the last straw, like the guy in the call screen got it like wrong and she just lost it. And maybe she's feels bad about that. Maybe she still remembers that call and's like, man, I wish I could apologize to that Carlos guy. You never know. But I think in the end, what you should do is, if someone corrects you, be prepared to apologize once and then just do your best to get it right in future. But if they're going to be horrible to you about it when you're trying your best, then you can just think, well, you know what? This person's an idiot. And it's the same as if they were being rude to you.
That's always an option. That's always an option, that the other person is an idiot.
Yeah, Johnny.
Look, Carlos, I've got a friend, and it's not about me. This is actually a friend. A friend of mine went to go get some boba tea, and got the boba.
Johnny. Right.
No, it's a real friend. It's actually my friend Patrick, who I talk about all the time on the show. He's the progressive Catholic dude. Wonderful chap. Hope he's not watching, but whatever. He might be. He went to a boba tea place, and he got his boba tea, and which I think is disgusting. And he said, "Thank you, sir," to the person behind the counter. And as he said, "Thank you, sir," he turned his head to walk away, and his eyes zeroed in on a they/them pin on the attendance, the person's thing, and he felt mortified that he said the wrong pronoun. He didn't know. He didn't catch it. He didn't see the pin. Right. And so he comes to me. Of course he comes to me. I don't know why. He comes to me and he's like, "What should I do?" And I'm like, don't make a big deal about it. First of all, just don't do it again. Yeah. The person didn't correct you. I said, if you really want to be proactive about it, find a way to work it into conversation, but that's going to be awkward. Just say they, them next time. I'll be honest. This is actually about me. I have inadvertently misgendered plenty of my non-binary friends. I've accidentally done it. I'm old. Okay, I'm older. My brain is calcified. It's turning into stone. And I catch myself, or my friends catch me. And what do? Sorry, they, them. Sorry, they did that. I do it. I'm not trying to. I promise you, I'm trying my best. But even trying my best, honestly trying my best, you're going to screw up. Now, to the friend that I might accidentally misgender, At this point, my friend can tear into me, like, get into your damn head, Angel, right? But to a stranger who I accidentally do it to, again, if they flip the frick out, you know this. We all have bad days. Katie said this. I don't want to repeat what Katie said. We don't know what a person's been through on any particular day. I make a slightly imperfect move on the highway and I get 20 middle fingers and a horn and a tailgating and a screaming and a flashing lights. And I'm like, that wasn't warranted. Who the hell knows what that person's been through?
You probably need to stop using that highway, by the way. I'm just saying.
Maybe. But the truth is, all you can do is do your best. Now, as far as forcing others, no one is actually here forcing anyone to do anything. It's just that actions have consequences. This is in everyday life, right? If I go to McDonald's, and I wouldn't, because it goes right through me. But if I went to McDonald's and I saw a person and I said, "Thank you, sir," and the person said, I'm a she, or I'm a he, or I'm a they, and I said, "I refuse to do that. I refuse to acknowledge your personal identity and to respect you for who you," whatever, then I'm the jerk. I'm just the jerk. I have the freedom to do that. But everyone else in the entire universe has the freedom to say, "Fuck that guy." Pardon my language, but they have the freedom to do that. The difference is, I think, in those areas where there is maybe what we call a fiduciary relationship, or a relationship that is more student-teacher, doctor-patient, I don't know, in the law, in other
Boss and
places.
employee.
Employee, employer, manager, subordinate, whatever you want to call it. Those are the situations where it's different, because now you have a situation that you maybe can't get out of. You're not going to a fast food place. You're going to a work. And everyone, I think, we ought to respect a person's need to go to work in this economic system, to make money, to live their life. And if you're a boss or a teacher or someone like that, and you refuse, you are creating an environment where a person is trying to survive or get ahead in life, and you're just actively trying to make it hard because it makes you feel weird, because a person doesn't look like your childhood understandings of what a man or a woman or whatever look like. And there's the difference for me. So I don't think you're going that far.
Yeah.
But that's, I think, where the distinction is.
All right. Well, thanks, man. First of all, like, what I want you to understand, and I know you guys got other callers, but what I want you to understand is that that's not my point at all. That's not where I was going at all. And every single thing you said was true.
All right.
But my point is this.
Okay, go for it.
When I say the wrong pronoun, it hurts me deeply. But that is the point. I feel like laymen, just regular citizens that walk into that Starbucks, see that guy behind the counter and says, "Sir, I would like this and this and this and this and that." And he's like, "I am not a sir." I feel that is the hypocrisy. I can't say this shit, but I'm sorry, I cuss. But that is we don't allow Christians to force their principles on us. But every time somebody get that pronoun wrong and is corrected, is that not us forcing our perspective on them? I'm confused.
Oh yeah, but if you walked in and like only said swear words and were naked and were like flipping everyone off and like spat on the floor or something, people would be like, "Whoa, fucking hell, get out of my shop. Like, what the hell are you doing?" But the thing is, you could say, "Well, what? I just don't agree with politeness as a concept. You're forcing your beliefs on me." And the reality is, like, you could describe it as, if you meet someone and you don't spit on them, you could say, "It's my belief that I should spit on every single person I meet." And then you could say, well, actually, most people don't want that, so don't do it. And then you're like, no, you're forcing your beliefs on me. It's like, well, no, like there's a reason behind the fact that we don't want this. There's a reason why it's unacceptable to spit on everyone you meet. But hang on. And I think there's a reason we have some kind of, that's okay. We have some politeness things in society, and they're different from culture to culture. But there are some things that humans do to just act out politeness to each other, and it can like diffuse a situation. It can make communication with people you don't know much easier and much safer, and etc., etc. And one of the things we do is just respect people within reason, like a basic level of respect that you apply to all people until they prove you otherwise that they don't deserve that. You just kind of give that to everyone just to show that you're not hostile. And when we say, oh, you know, this trans person's forcing their beliefs on me, really how I would say it, and I think is a much more realistic description, is everyone's just trying to get on, and they're just like, you know, just treat me like a person, just deal with it. And then you're like, no, I'm not going to respect politeness in this occasion because of my beliefs, I don't think you deserve the politeness that I give to everyone else. And then really what you could say, oh, okay, well, any reaction to that is that person forcing their beliefs, but also you're kind of not just forcing your beliefs onto the person you're talking to, but you're also breaking this like politeness contract. You're forcing this uncomfortableness onto them, making their day worse, and also everyone else around you. And I totally agree. If you know, you live in a super Christian country or a super Muslim country or anything, and they have some kind of custom where they require you to, like, you know, imagine if there was some country where every time you meet someone you have to say like praise God and then hello or something. And I mean, we're like, well, I don't believe in God, so I'm not going to do that. And then they're like, well, that's really rude here. And they're not, basically, it's my decision. The reality is that maybe they consider that rude. And it's my decision whether I'm going to be rude and hostile or whether I'm just going to do it to just get on. And I think if I did live in a country where everyone said praise God to each other, I would probably make a scene and I would just decide, you know what, I don't believe this and I'm going to be rude about it. But if I was visiting a country where they said that, then I probably wouldn't, because I don't want to get kicked out of the country. It's disrespectful to a culture I'm not really part of, etc. So I think you've just got to consider the situation. And I don't think it's hypocritical to say, just treat trans people with the respect that like they treat you with and everyone else treats each other with. And if it's against your beliefs, like maybe it is good. Maybe your beliefs are that trans people, whatever, who cares? But the thing is, you know, you're being unpolite, or not you personally, Carlos, but when this happens, the people who do this, they know they're being like disrespectful and impolite. And it's just so pointless. Like, what is the point? Okay, you think maybe you even think trans people are like subhuman or whatever. But like, so what? Like, just fucking keep it to yourself. It's such a, like, you're ruining someone else's day because you can't smile at someone and say, hello, ma'am. Like, get over yourself. Like, fucking hell. It's like self-centered that you have to jam your beliefs into everyone else who's standing around and having to deal with a cringe and like, oh, get a life.
And I think I think Katie's been saying, not you necessarily, Carlos, but how about this?
Yeah.
I think it's comparable to seeing somebody with a cross around their neck, right? I don't necessarily agree with all that entails. Okay. I think that that Christianity and all that stuff is a myth. I don't know if it's true. I don't believe it's true. But I'm not going to walk up to somebody and pick a fight with them over that, right? I'm going to deal with that person, right? I'm not going to say, when I have a nice interaction with somebody at a store or whatever, and they have a cross, and they say, well, you have a nice day, sir. And I say, hail Satan. I don't do that kind of stuff. Right, because I feel that, or God is dead, God isn't real. You're believing a lie. I wouldn't. That's considered. That's a terrible, rude thing to do, and this doesn't do anything. Now, that's if I don't agree with what they're presenting to the world. It's important to them. It's part of their identity. So if I see somebody who maybe in my head, in my middle-aged head, presents as male or female, or I don't know, right? What they're conveying to the world or for themselves or whatever, radiating from their being. And I get it. I don't feel like I'm being forced to do anything. I'm just respecting a person's, wishes. I'm respecting a person's right to present as they wish, and I'm not trying to challenge it because ultimately it doesn't make a difference. Another story.
Yes.
Okay. I went to a comedy show. Great show. It was like people reading from their childhood diaries, and they would do this little presentation. And it was so embarrassing, and it was great. And there was a person on the stage who I would probably say is, if I were to guess, this is the non-binary person. They weren't signaling masculine traits. They weren't signaling feminine traits, but didn't matter to me because, and I'll say this very bluntly, I didn't want to fuck them. I didn't care. It doesn't matter to me. This was a human being doing a show, right? And I'm
spoken.
Yeah, exactly. This is just come on, it's a person. So I'm like, this person's funny. This person's doing a good show. My buddy, right, who I don't really talk to anymore, was like, is that a man? Is that a woman? And I'm like, why, Mark? Why? Do you want to go fuck that person? Because I don't understand how in any capacity this is important to you. The person's hilarious and they're doing a show. It makes you uncomfortable because you can't figure it out. Okay, that's a you problem. Fucking deal with it because it's not bothering me. I can't figure out what's going on either. It doesn't matter, right? All that matters is I paid to be entertained and I'm entertained. All right. And
it's almost like being like not to compare like being LGBT to like being a religion. Maybe if you compare, you could also say like atheism, but just like a thing that people are. It's like, someone walks on stage and you're like, are they a Christian? Are they an atheist? Like, I need to know. Like, I must know this information. Yeah. It's not important to the situation. I mean, maybe a better thing would be like if someone comes on wearing sunglasses and you're like, do they have blue eyes? Do they have brown eyes? Like, I'm offended by this. I must know this key medical piece of information about their life. Like,
right.
All right, get over it. I don't actually need to see their eye color in order to laugh at their jokes, but whatever.
Yeah, I don't. Again, Carlos, we're not saying we're doing a lot of talking. Carlos, we're not saying that you're saying all these things, right? We're just saying that like life is one of these phenomenons where you're gonna go through the world and you're not gonna have all the answers and you're gonna make mistakes, and we've got to be a little bit forgiving to each other, right? But I don't think of a person who like respectfully corrects you when you get their gender wrong, right, is forcing themselves on you. I think it's part of that. It's part of that inevitable social contract where we're just trying to sniff each other out to figure out what this situation is all about, and we're trying to navigate it, and that's it.
So we do have, I guess, another maybe.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for letting me express this, even though it was broken. And I'm sorry I wasted so much time on the show, but you guys are awesome. And thank you so much just for giving me some clarity. I really appreciate you guys.
Oh, no worries. Thanks
Good to have you.
In.
Katie, your last thought on this, and I'm going to let Carlos go.
Yeah, I guess I have another angle on this, and that is like we say, oh, well, maybe we're not, like, should we compare this to like a religious person forcing their views on someone? And I think all the arguments that me and Johnny have made here are the most important ones. Like the bottom line is like, it's just not a big deal, get over it. But the second one is, if people were to start forcing views on each other, forcing atheism on someone would be less immoral than forcing Christianity on people, because it's right. It's like saying, well, maybe I'm indoctrinating children into believing that the world is round. We should teach them all different arguments, including flat Earth. Like, you're forcing your views onto people. Like, well, no, because the world is round and there is no evidence for a God, and gender pronouns are just made up cultural bullshit that we should be able to do whatever we want with. So, I mean, the main thing is just, what's the point in going around offending people for no reason and just being a prick? But if you want to be a prick to everyone, then maybe you should be a critical thinking prick and realize that supporting trans rights is the morally and logically consistent position. So that's another argument. If for the dickheads in the audience, I know there's some of you.
Yeah,
my fellow people.
Katie and Johnny are saying that we're not making you do anything, but we're going to mock you mercilessly if you decide to be a dickhead. You're in our sights. Go ahead.
Absolutely.
Be a prick and see what happens, right? You will be at the you will get the short end of the stick, rhetorically speaking.